2001, a document called the Metamorphosis Blueprint laid out how you'd build a community that regenerates what it uses instead of consuming it. 25 years later, you can count a dozen serious attempts at something like it. 4 continents, kings, presidents, international councils, billions of dollars committed. Not one of them is still standing.
And according to the material we're working through today, that isn't a coincidence, and it isn't bad luck.
Say more about that.
None of them stopped because they ran out of money. They stopped because of what they were shaped like. The material we're working through today comes from a multi-volume framework called Tribernachi Theory, Mark S. Hewitt, and the Tribernachi Foundation. It runs across quantum physics, the periodic table, regenerative economics, decentralized governance, and, more surprisingly, indigenous cosmology.
All pointing at one through line.
Right. The argument that reality runs on a specific, mathematically describable geometry, and that human systems succeed or fail depending on whether they're aligned with it.
Which is a big claim, so let's start at the bedrock.
The foundational claim is that growth in living systems follows a specific proportion, not a metaphor for one, an actual ratio. The work calls it the Genesis ratio.
Are we going to hear the number?
We're going to skip that. A figure read aloud tells you about as much as reciting pi. What matters is the consequence, not the digits.
Which is?
When an institution violates that proportion, it fails in a way you can predict. The way you can predict a bridge with the wrong load path will fail.
Predict or just explain afterward?
That's the fair challenge, and the honest answer is mostly explain so far. The framework is better at telling you why something collapsed than telling you it will in advance. Worth saying plainly rather than overselling it.
The clearest place to see the argument is somewhere with no politics in it at all, the periodic table.
Take rubidium, atomic number 37. 37 is prime, so it doesn't factor. And rubidium behaves like something uncompromised, soft, violently reactive, unmixed. Lithium is 3, sodium 11, potassium 19. All prime, all in the same column, all behaving the same way.
And the next one down the column breaks the pattern.
Cesium, 55. 5 times 11, not prime. The chemistry gets messier right at the same place the arithmetic does.
Now go the other direction. Carbon. 6. 2 times 3.
2 small primes pulling against each other, which produces cancellation rather than strength. Carbon has no geometric preference of its own, which is exactly why every living thing on the planet is built from it. It doesn't impose a shape on what it bonds to. It's scaffolding.
And gold, 79, prime, barely bonds with anything.
Doesn't rust, doesn't tarnish, comes out of a 3,000-year-old tomb looking freshly poured. The framework's argument is that this isn't a convenient chemical accident that happened to make a good store of value.
Which is a correspondence, not a cause. Chemistry already has a working account of all of this.
That's the honest caveat the material itself raises. The claim isn't that this replaces the chemical explanation. It's that a second description also fits, and it keeps working in places the first one was never meant to go. Like cities.
Which brings us back to the 12. What actually went wrong?
They were all built as dams. A river moves, floods, drops silt, changes course, and the whole valley is alive because of that movement. A dam is what you build once you've decided movement is the problem. It holds, it hoards, it delivers a controlled output, and it works beautifully right up until conditions change. And then it doesn't bend. It breaks.
Every one of the 12 had a master plan, a fixed program, a delivery schedule.
And extraction, in this framework, isn't really about mining. It's a way of thinking, deciding in advance, then spending everything you have defending the decision.
The material describes an alternative rhythm. 4 to gather, 1 to decide.
Before any commitment, 4 distinct passes. Map what's actually there. Take the feedback the environment is already giving you. Bring in people who see it differently. Test small and let it fail cheaply. Only after those 4 does the 5th beat happen. Commit.
The 12 ran a single beat instead. Decide, execute, defend.
An engine that's all exhaust and no intake runs fast for a short time and then burns out. That's not a moral failing. It's a design with no intake, and the people running these projects weren't fools. The structure they were working inside guaranteed the outcome before they started.
So what does the alternative actually look like mechanically?
2 things. First, scale. Not a megacity, a microcity. Small enough that the people living in it can sense its own state without a bureaucracy standing in between. Governance by resonance rather than command. The community reading its own state in real time rather than a central authority acting on limited data from the top.
Which only works if individuals hold their own sovereignty.
Including over their own data. Think of a healthy body. The brain doesn't micromanage every reaction in the liver. It works because the liver is trusted to be a liver.
And the second mechanism is money.
Under the current arrangement, a community is a beneficiary. It waits for a payment, a grant, a quarterly return, which means it can only afford to care about the next quarter. The framework's regenerative wealth reserve makes the community an owner instead. Principal locked, permanently. Only the yield is ever spent. And the time horizon isn't a business cycle. It's 7 generations, which the framework reads as 144 years.
That's not a small ask.
It's deliberately not. And the accounting mechanism backing it up doesn't track one number. It tracks 5. Financial, natural, social, human, and manufactured capital. If an enterprise inside a city posts an extraordinary financial year, but the ledger shows the water table down or the neighborhood absorbing the traffic has stopped participating in anything, the system doesn't write a report about that. It blocks the distribution. The yield doesn't move.
So you can't take the profit if you broke the geometry to get it.
That's the whole mechanism in one sentence.
Now, there's an objection worth raising directly rather than leaving for a comment section.
Go ahead.
The 144-year horizon comes from the 7-generation principle in the Haudenosaunee Great Law of Peace. Elsewhere, the framework draws on the Karo, the Lakota, the Dogon, the Anishinaabe, a mathematical framework and a currency design borrowing the moral authority of peoples dispossessed by systems that looked a lot like the one it's proposing an alternative to. What makes that different from any other extraction?
The material's own answer is nothing, automatically. There's no argument that settles it in the abstract, because the difference isn't in the argument, it's in the conduct. And conduct gets judged by the people affected, not by the framework's author.
And the specific commitment made is
that the mathematics doesn't validate the tradition. That framing is treated as the actual insult, because it makes an ancient body of knowledge the defendant, and a set of equations the judge. The claim made instead is smaller and stranger, that both are observing the same underlying reality in different languages, and that where those traditions are living, the people who carry them keep authority over how their knowledge gets used, including the authority to say no.
Worth naming what this episode is deliberately leaving out for the same reason. There's a well-known account from the Andes, the eagle and the condor prophecy, that the source material maps onto this framework directly. We're not telling it today.
Because the material's fuller version isn't 2 figures, it's 3, eagle, condor, and hummingbird, mapped to mind, heart, and hands. Tell it with 2, and you misstate the actual pattern. So that one's getting its own episode, done properly, rather than a shorthand version here.
Last question then. If you're hearing this on a commute, no city to build, no reserve to fund, what's actually being asked of you?
Less than you'd think. The momentum of the current arrangement is enormous. Nobody alive stops it in their own lifetime. And any framework that asks you to save the world by next year is setting you up to fail, and then blame yourself for it.
So the ask is different.
The material frames this as the first generation of a two-generation transition. The job isn't the harvest, it's the planting, prototyping something, writing the accounting code, or just running 4 to gather 1 to decide inside your own family on a decision that matters and watching what changes.
Be the thread.
That's the line the material lands on, and it seems like the honest place to leave it. The books are free. Come find the gaps.